It's taken just under 3 years for 15-year-old Keelan Wilson to get justice. Now, if you remember, in May of 2018, the 15-year-old teenager was ambushed in a calculated attack and stabbed more than 40 times just yards from his home in Wolverhampton. Now, despite the fact that there was evidence that Keelan Wilson became involved in this delusioned idea of gang culture and attempting to protect his postcode and other juvenile crap that does nothing but bring hardship, he did not deserve to die in the manner that he was murdered. The sad thing about the entire case is the court was told Keelan's death was due to the fact that he had swapped alliance from Wolverhampton's V2 to V3. This was a choice that saw him be executed in the back of a taxi by 4 teenagers. Now, the 4 teenagers that have been found guilty are Sasa, Tyrique King, Zenay Pennant-Phillips, and Nehemie Tampwo. Now, these are a bunch of children that cannot piece together the severity of their actions. During the trial, the court was told on the day Keelan died there was 2 incidents. The first incident took place about 4:30 when a group of teenagers were seen carrying machetes through Wolverhampton city centre. They ended up convening near Marky's Barbers. One of the boys pointed out was Kai Bell, who was a friend of 15-year-old Keelan Wilson, who had come out of the barbers to confront the gang of teenagers. Mr. Michael Duck, prosecuting, claimed. Now, the second incident was way more serious and was a sign of things to come. The court heard that after the first incident, Keelan Wilson went to go check on his friend. During that time, Keelan was seen on CCTV walking when 2 men, one of whom were riding a bike, actually fired a shotgun at him. That shotgun blast resulted in a Honda Civic that was associated with Keelan attempting to run over the guy that shot at Keelan, and then, just an hour later, Keelan Wilson would be dead. The 4 teenagers charged with murder, Sasa, Tyrique King, Zenay Pennant-Phillips, and Nehemie Tampwo, concocted a plan to get retribution. A witness who was at the scene of the crime described how the 4 teenagers ran at the taxi Keelan Wilson was travelling in, all carrying weapons. He said it looked like a metal pole or a baseball bat. The witness continued by explaining he saw a group of teenagers attacking Keelan, who was already on the floor. He described the attackers feeding piranhas. The witness explained 4, possibly 5 individuals came running past the front of my vehicle. My car was facing into the car park, into the road. They ran towards where the taxi was. They were running. They were carrying some sort of pole or baseball bat or some description. There were at least 2 of them carrying weapons. The lighting is very, very bad in that area. I heard a commotion, shouting, yelling. It was a lot of shouting. I could not pick words out. I looked over in that direction. They were clearly giving someone a beating who was lying on the floor. They were all involved. By the time I recognised what was happening, it was over. It was like piranhas feeding. It was awful. Again, Keelan Wilson was stabbed over 40 times. The amount of times he was stabbed has been calculated as 43. After the attack, the group fled. Tampwo made a short journey to Telford and handed over his blood-stained trainers, hoodie and trousers to 2 acquaintances with the promise that it would be disposed of. The clothes were never disposed of, and through analysing CCTV and DNA analysis, the clothes firstly was found to have Keelan Wilson's DNA on the items, and secondly, it put Tampwo firmly at the crime scene. Tampwo's defence was that they were not his clothes, and the clothes had been in fact given to him by another man who had been involved in the shooting. This was an excuse that the jury did not even entertain. As part of the investigation, police also recovered evidence from the taxi that Keelan was travelling in on the day he was murdered. Pennant-Phillips' fingerprints were found on the rear offside door handle, and Sasa's fingerprints were found on the near side door. Pennant-Phillips attempted to explain that he used taxis regularly, and his fingerprints could have been from a previous journey. Again, the jury did not entertain this defence. Because these are teenagers that lack understanding and the very real fact that there are consequences for their actions, a rap song was produced with all the telltale signs of dual references. Violence, gang codes, postcodes, and mentioning dead people's names. Keelan's name was also referenced in the song found on Tampwo's phone. Keelan's name that was mentioned was K-Sab, which was his nickname. Now, personally, I'm not one to believe that music is a mechanism that incites violence, especially drill music, because drill music is a reflection of what some people are going through at the moment. hence why a lot of people end up incriminating themselves. However, in order to build a solid case, PC William Bolton Betts, who is said to have listened to drill music growing up, appeared as an expert witness for the prosecution. Understand, PC Bolton Betts says that the rappers spoke about stabbing and killing people and bragged about being in a violent gang. As well as using music, police also used CCTV footage, telephone records, DNA samples, and witnesses' accounts to build a case against the 4 teenagers. All 4 gang members have denied murder. However, the jury took just 2 hours to find 20-year-old Brian Sasa guilty, along with 19-year-old Tyrique King, Zenay Pennant-Phillips, and Nehemie Tampwo. The judge said of Keelan's death, "It is an utter tragedy that as 15-year-old child lost his life at the hands of others who are barely older than him. All I can say is rest in peace to Keelan Wilson. Safe."